Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, professional photographers of Idaho and beyond. I am Bob Ryder.
I'm Larry Fry. How are you guys today?
It is Friday again,
Yep.
and we say that every Friday, and we only do this on Fridays, so that really shouldn't be all that startling to me. But I'm always pretty much wiped by the end of the week, and this week is no different.
This week has been a wiper.
You walked in dragon tail, dude.
I did. I gotta admit, I've been burning the candle at all ends. I took some time off. Had a great time hunting.
How was that?
It was awesome.
Tell us where you went.
Well, I went bird hunting. I'm an upland bird hunter. That's what I do. That's one of my passions. And I drove about 1,600 miles one way to upland bird hunt. So it took, it takes 2 days to get there and 2 days to get back. I was out in the field for 5 days, anywhere from 5 to 9 miles a day, walking and packing a shotgun and hopefully birds. They were few and far between this year. It was dry, very dry.
Been a dry year.
We had a little excitement. We almost lost a dog, and by lost I mean killed. It wasn't a good situation at all. These dogs have a lot of dogs were. This happened to be a Springer, and a lot of those dogs with the longer hair wear a skid plate so the burrs and stuff don't stick on. I mean, they still do, but not as bad. And this dog, we were up at a creek. Again, it was dry, so the creek was low, but it still has deep. Well, it wasn't a creek. This thing's a river. Let's just call it what it is.
Okay.
It's named a creek, but it's a river. It has big pools in it. Anyway, dog has been in and out of the water all day. Dog goes down. The owner and his hunting partner were up on their side. Myself and my hunting partner on the other side with our dog. And then we came around the corner and we hear this thrashing around, and the dog was down in the river trying to get out, and he couldn't.
Oh, no.
He slipped off the bank into a deep pool, and where the vest goes in the back, the straps, a wood from a tree caught up. So his head was underwater, and his butt was out of water. And I come out, I'm looking around the corner, and I'm like,
trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, and I'm like, that dog's not doing well. And then I thought he was thrashing around. I thought, well, get out of it. And then I looked at the vest, and the vest kind of goes this way, narrows at the neck, and all I saw was the wide part. And I went, his head's underwater. And about that time, the owner was trying to find his dog. Big story, long story short, though, we got him out. He's fine. He didn't really want to go swimming anymore.
Slam dunk! Yeah. That was a great hunt. Thanks, fellas.
Yeah. But that was, I've been going there for, 15, 16 years, and that's the first time we've ever had that happen, which is scary.
And that's just such an oddity, that's not something you can anticipate.
I told Jerry, I said, look, that dog could go in the river 1,000 more times and never do that again. It was just it was a freak. But my hunting partner I'm 5'0", he's 6'2", and he basically laid his shotgun down, took his hat off.
So he spots for you? Birds!
Exactly. No, we have a dog do that. And he went right in, and the water was up to here on him.
Wow.
And it was a cut bank, so the dog was underneath. The owner couldn't see him. Those two guys if we hadn't been on the other side of that river with them, they may not have ever found that dog, because he was clear underneath that cut bank, and he couldn't. It all ended well, but it was a little scary.
That's dramatic.
It is dramatic.
And dogs. People are pretty emotional about their dogs. I am too.
Every bird hunter, they like their dog better than they do most people. So
that's pretty true. In general.
Yeah.
It's Friday, and you're fresh. You've worked all week.
I have. I came back.
Because you were telling me about your Monday drama.
I came back to a nightmare, and not a nightmare. It's just.
That's what happens when you take time off.
Exactly.
It's like,
it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't a nightmare. I just have been busy. I mean, like backup busy. I get again on the phone by 6, and I'm not off till at least noon, and then I fix my stuff, and hopefully I get done by 4 or 5. And literally.
Because you're up early.
I'm up way early. Yeah.
Mike Collins is with us this morning.
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Morning, gents. Mike, dude, I think we're due for lunch again soon. We should try and cook up a lunch with a few of us.
That'd be good.
That's a great segue, don't you think?
I think it's an awesome segue.
I was going to cover this next slide in a couple minutes, but let's talk about it right now.
It just so happens that we do cook up lunch once in a while.
Yeah, so 2 weeks from now. So today is almost the end of the month.
Can you believe that?
It's almost November.
Yeah.
And
For those of you that are waiting for fall colors, you better hurry.
yeah, it's out there. In fact, our fall colors are falling off.
They're falling off,
right?
yeah, exactly.
But let's talk about this. Coming up 2 weeks from today
Yep.
is our first Friday luncheon, and this is just a meet and greet. Like, this is just a no host. Come and enjoy the lunch buffet over at Idaho Pizza Company there on Fairview in Meridian.
Correct.
And I'll put the slide back up because it's got some of those details.
And it's kind of across the street from Express Cafe and the Jiffy Lube and all that stuff.
And we meet there because they've got a great big room that we just put some tables together, and the lunch buffet is excellent and inexpensive.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about it's a good value.
It's a really good value.
You can go there and load up a plate with salad. You don't have to just eat pizza. I do that.
And
then,
we can be kind of loud because it's a lunchtime crowd, and there's a lot of activity.
it's loud
right?
in there anyway,
Yeah.
so you can just, I mean, we don't shout, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time. So that's our first Friday luncheons coming up. I think the
And just a reminder, we do that the first Friday of every month.
Every month,
So
yeah.
just, you should probably put that
I have it on my calendar as
Yeah.
a repeating event.
Yeah.
And I also have the Members Connect on my calendar as a repeating event. Mm-hmm. And then
I do too. And
it moved early on us this week, and I
Well,
didn't catch it.
No, I have it also, and that was one of those days I was embroiled late at night with a problem. So I apologize to Jen and the community because I should have been on there. I knew it was coming up. I was on it, and then all of a sudden I was on the phone with somebody else with an issue.
That's, you know what, it's all good. So the Members Connect is a members only benefit. I don't have a slide for the Connect. I really should get that back into our announcements.
We're not competing with Members Connect. We really like them. So
Yeah, no, it's good. I just
people think, wow, you're not putting a slide up because I watch your show. No, that's not it.
I'll get that slide in here for next week. And speaking of next week, no, this isn't next week at all. Here we are. Oh yeah, Laquita says, "Good morning, guys. I'm so happy the dog is okay."
Yeah.
You know, I think you can get away with telling dog stories on a photography show, and it's okay because
Well, it was pretty, like I said, I've been going out there for 15 or 16 years, and this is the very first time I've ever seen one of our animals in trouble. I mean, like,
Peril.
when you walk around the corner
Peril.
and the dog's thrashing, and then it stops, that's trouble.
Yeesh.
Yeah, that's how.
terrifying.
Yeah, it is. It
Mike
was.
Cullen says when, and I think he's talking about the luncheon. So it's the first Friday, and I think it's the 5th. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but
But it's 1 o'clock, right?
it's at 1 o'clock. Yeah. It's so we do the live in the morning, and then we have about an hour break, and then we meet you over at the Idaho Pizza.
And you just go to the back room. Sometimes
Go through the chow line, get
Yeah.
your lunch, buy your lunch,
and go to the back room. You just keep on going, and it's to the left, and there's a bigger room back
You'll
there.
find a group of people that all look like us.
I
You know who's a
I hope not.
Sam Marvin's a faithful there.
Yeah.
Jamia's a faithful there. My wife has been joining us. Jen's usually there.
Phil comes once in a while.
The more the merrier. And
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
Laquita, you have a hard time making it over there because it's during the workday. I appreciate that. Let's do a quick save the date for convention next year.
Yeah.
We've got a slide for you today. Our theme is action, and our convention is slated for April 7th through the 10th. And it's going to be here in the metro part of the Treasure Valley, I think is a safe way to say that.
Correct.
We're looking at a couple of great venues.
And we hear, so when we were over in our fall retreat, yeah, I heard you guys, and I know the rest of the board did too, about, you guys never come over, we never do anything over, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that we hear that. We're trying to figure out a way to mitigate, but logistically.
So we added a day.
Yeah. Yeah, we added it.
We added a day so that it makes that trip coming to town more worthwhile.
Right.
Not that it's not already worthwhile. There's been some and I don't want to speak to this today because I think we're still learning about it.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do want to comment that there's some changes coming with the way the merits are issued through PPA this coming year with our conventions and the hybrid virtual part of that. And I do believe we're doing a hybrid convention for folks that can't get into the Treasure Valley for our in-person part of the event.
Let's just say we still have questions that need to be answered.
Yeah. So we're going to address that. If you've seen some of that talk around the PPA circles, we're still looking into that, finding out how we can maximize the benefit for our attendees. And there's a lot more to be said about convention coming down the road. But
and maximize the convention. The board wants to maximize your experience as well as maximize or minimize, I should say, the expenditure it takes to put this thing on. So there's a lot of stuff for us to talk about.
Well, and on top of that, we not just the expense, and I think what you're saying there is having virtual speakers and virtual judges allows us to save a little money in some aspects, but what it does for us is it extends our ability to offer you content.
Right.
For instructors who might otherwise not be able to come to our area.
Correct.
And so anyway, save those dates. I'll pop that slide back up one more time. Let's do a fancy wipe down with it. Bam, I like that, right?
Shrunk.
That was cool, huh?
That's cool.
So there's your convention dates, and take time right now. I'm going to leave this here and stop talking for just a moment about that. Mike says lunch with us. So we need to pull that together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike, I'll work on that. Next week's looking maybe okay for me. How about you? Sometime next week for lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not sure. That's put me on the spot.
No, seriously. I think Wednesday and Friday would be a good.
You know, I don't book anything on Fridays, so if we wanted to do lunch after the live,
yeah, we could do that.
That could totally work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this isn't the sanctioned luncheon. This isn't the PPAT.
Yeah.
This is just the, I don't know.
Get together.
Maybe we shouldn't be talking about this here.
Yeah. No, we're
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, you're welcome to come.
Yeah.
As long as you pay for yourself.
It's on Bob.
No, don't go there. All right, so listen, we've got an interesting conversation today. I'm going to key that back up and put that up here. This is to be a conversation about pricing, and you and I had a little bit of an interesting conversation ahead of us pressing the Go Now button.
Yeah.
A little while ago. The concept is that complexity in pricing, that's the parenthetical part of that, complexity in pricing kills sales.
Yeah, I mean it can turn your eyeballs, your client's eyeballs back. They'll roll back in their head if you do it. So
and once they've made, so that's a great way to illustrate that. You can almost see that eye roll, and once those eyes roll, you've lost your connection to the client. They've gone into their math brain instead of their passion brain.
They're trying. So they've already figured out that they want your services. They looked at all your beautiful prints.
Yeah.
I want to do this, and I want something similar to that, and I've got this big space over my hearth or my couch or ceiling. Maybe Michelangelo's coming in and paint their ceiling, and I want that. And you're rattling off about, I mean, let's face it, a 30 by or a 40 by 30 or a 30 by 40 print isn't cheap, right?
Right.
And but then you start rattling off your package prices and all this stuff, and their eyes kind of glaze over, and they're trying to figure out, well, wait a minute, he just said it was $500 for this print, and now it's $300 for this, but if I get that, it's $250, but I'm not sure if I want that. So, but over here I can get this for $500, which includes that over here. So, what we talked about ahead of time is making that clear to the customer, and most of that comes for your pre-consultation.
So I think a big part of this, and we don't do pre-consultation in my line of work, but it's just as important that the client understands what they're in for. And I think a big part of the complexity issue is, do you understand your pricing structure? Do you understand? No, and I mean that. Like, do you understand it?
I laugh.
Forward and backward, so that it's not just you reading it off of a page. Is it something that you are intuitive about, so that you can explain it without a lot of backpedaling and ums and ahs?
I laughed at that statement, but what I'm really laughing at is we've touched on this before about the cost of doing business, right? And what you have to make to maintain a business and your household and your fun, right? And and a lot of that.
I like that laugh. That laugh that you do means trouble. There's something behind there.
Well, the deal is, if you don't understand that, then you don't understand your pricing structure. And you have to understand your cost of doing business before you can understand your pricing structure. And you have to know that forward and backward before you can even translate it to a client that's sitting there with their eyes in the back of their head going, I don't even know what this means.
So I'll tell you a very real part of that for me is that when we transitioned from being a print-based in-person sales studio to being strictly commercial, you lose all that margin and profit that comes from print sales.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to figure out what does our pricing need to look like for us to compensate for not selling prints.
Yeah.
That means that compared to the person who doesn't understand their cost of doing business and hasn't priced themselves sustainably, we're expensive.
Absolutely.
And
Everybody
I
should
don't
be expensive.
mind that because I can explain that
Exactly.
to my client. And they're like, well, you're a lot more expensive than so-and-so. And I'm like, okay, well, so-and-so is maybe a general purpose photographer, and they do a lot of everything, and they sell prints, and they're making up for it there. Or I can simply state that,
Let me introduce you to professional
well,
photography.
and it kind of goes along with that, right?
Yeah.
I'm at a place now, and I'm grateful for this, that I don't have to do a lot of explaining about my prices. When we put it out there, we either get, that sounds great, or something along those lines, or perhaps, and I welcome this without saying it, perhaps they come back with some negotiable point.
Well, and then the other thing too is we talk a lot about that's not my client.
Right.
And I will tell you this, and I've done this in the wedding business, even though I'm not doing it anymore, but I can tell you this. When you hit that point in your pricing that people come to you, you have found your clients.
Yeah.
They don't come to you. If you're in a wedding show, which I've been in with the table and all the debris,
And the debris.
and you pass out 7,000 cards and 7,000 brochures, and you get 3 callbacks, right? And because that's what happens. Those people that call you back more than likely understand your value. In other words, I'm going to pay him this much because that is a cool picture, and I want that.
I want that. I just had that experience this week.
Yep.
I got an email from
Yeah.
a client. This is one I didn't tell you about.
Oh.
I'm excited about the other one too that I did tell you about.
I thought you
No,
were,
I got an email from a large CPA firm, and they said, I got your name from so-and-so, who is a client that we photographed a month or two ago. I love your work, and I want you to photograph my office. Notice that he didn't lead that conversation with,
How much?
how much?
Yeah.
I want you to photograph my office. His people.
Yeah.
Great. Here's how much. Thanks for the compliment. I appreciate your kind words. I'll have to thank so-and-so for the referral, and this is how it works. And this is going to speak. Today's conversation, of course, is coming back to the slide, is how complexity kills sales, right?
Right.
And next week's conversation is going to speak to the process,
Right.
how your process, how people might perceive your process as being complex also.
So
go
I think to kind of tie that together, you need, as a proprietor, you need to know how to make your pricing not complex and still have it as complex as you want it, right? So you have to work those pull-throughs in, you got to work those packages in, or in your case, per piece or per body or whatever it is. But you got to tell the customer in a way that they can understand it so that they're not left in the lurch.
And I'm constantly looking at my language on that.
Yeah.
I've made those mistakes, and I've made.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm going to talk about this. I want to talk about. Well, we'll go here. Okay, I think this is good. What you just said. You have to know this forwards and backwards. Like, a great example. This is what I wanted to mention before we come into my example here. I think when you start, you're looking at all the products that your lab can offer, and you're like, look, we do buttons and magnets all the way up to 40 by 60, 40 by huge
acrylics.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that what you want to offer your client? Have you chosen a select few products with some potential pull-throughs? And I'm going to have you illustrate what you were talking about earlier with your a la carte and so on. Or are you offering this hodgepodge of products that your lab can make? Like, just because your lab can do it doesn't mean you need to offer that.
So if you look, like I use Bay Photo
I've used Bay Photo for a lot of years.
lot.
Yep.
And if you look at their what they call it rows, it's their ordering system. And if you look at the products in rows, there's hundreds.
Yeah.
I mean,
If you offer
Yeah.
your clients hundreds of products, they're going to have analysis
Yeah.
paralysis.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't do you any good. And we have I'll save it for the next thing. But
For the process.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's good.
But going back to Bob's thing about the my deal with tiers and the a la carte and stuff. So that's how I was taught. It's
a very classic sales.
It works.
Yep.
And,
so lay it out for us.
So you basically I have 3 tiers: gold, silver, platinum, or black. I think I changed it to black because that's cool.
Black is the new silver? I don't know.
and then
It's easier to say than platinum.
exactly. And the only way, so one of my deals is the only way they get digitals, and yes, I sell digitals on a USB stick, is with my black edition package. And they get all of them, and I don't.
So that's your pull through.
Exactly.
So let's break that down.
Yeah.
You start with you've got the product. They can buy the individual piece.
Right, but the individual pieces cost them
More
quite a bit more than
if they were to buy a package.
Correct.
Because you want to penalize them for not buying the package.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
So the package is a way to get the client to spend a little bit more money or substantially more money
Yep.
to get more items at a better value.
Right.
Right? That's the whole concept with that.
Right.
So the question is on your a la carte menu, and just give me a round number, how many products do you offer?
Oh gosh. Not that many really. About 50.
Wow, that's a lot of product.
It's a lot of product, but there's different sizes in there. So
okay.
I'm counting the sizes.
To just slim that down. Well, even with the sizes, when we were in IPS studio, we don't offer that size. Like you have to offer the sizes that people want. They
Right.
want their tabletop prints, fine. They can buy their tabletop prints, and they're stupid pricey. I'm paying 37 cents for that 5x7, and I'm selling it for $45.
Yeah.
And like they want to buy 5x7s.
Not
Good on them!
Yeah. So
I laugh to the bank, right?
In the 50 count,
Okay.
I offer
with all your different sizes.
right. I do offer some and then albums, and then I do offer coffee table books, which is the same as an album. You just call it coffee table, but people go, yeah, I want coffee. And then
Tell us how it really is.
and then I offer some boxes with loose prints.
Okay, I love the box.
So there's
I've actually had my best success with
but the only place you can get a thumb drive with the images on it is in my black label package, and
Nice.
it's expensive. You can't buy it a la carte. You have to buy that package if you want the. Listen, folks.
That's your
Your
pull through. Right?
But nobody's. I can tell you this, and you guys have all seen the joke, I hope, about the CD that's hanging on the wall.
Sure.
You've seen that, right?
I have.
Yeah. That's what they're going to do. They're going to take. Now I make mine.
It's going to sit in a drawer.
Exactly. Mine's in.
Statistically, like 90 some odd %.
Right. And mine are bundled in a box with 3x5 prints. Not every print that's on the CD or the USB drive is in the box. I cherry pick about 30 3x5s, and this is Photo Flash Drive makes these things, and I literally it's a crystal USB. It's a box full of the 3.5x5, my choice, not theirs.
Yeah, your selection.
Yep. And then that whole thing, so they can actually sit it on a table or something, and people can
And they
buy
can
it.
thumb through it,
Right.
and then they can pop it on the television.
Then the thought process, why I put prints in there, which don't cost me that much, the thought process is, ooh, I really like that. Where's that at on the CD or on this USB? They plug it in. Oh, I like that one too. And I've gotten, not very often, but I've gotten order. Yeah, like I want this print, this thing. I forgot it was in there.
Yeah.
I need to see that in big form. Most of the time they go to Walmart or Walgreens,
CVS
which is
or whatever, yeah.
perfect because the Walgreens processing is so good that they call me up and say, this picture doesn't look correct. That's right.
It doesn't look right.
It's
the police
magenta.
department just did that. I think I talked about it a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
a few months ago. She calls me up. She says, "Hey, I can't get that. It just looks like cornflakes." And I said, "How much are they charging you for that?" She's like, "It's like $4.95." I'm like, "I tell you what, I'll just bring that. I can produce that, and I make a buck or two, and that's not what I'm in the business of."
Right.
And so
that's
they
another,
bought now she just orders her prints from me, and it's fine.
And here's the deal. So he just told you away for another. It's another extra that you can do. Remember, you're competing against everybody else out there, right? I mean, literally. And you just admitted that your prices are pretty high,
Yeah.
right? But look what he just did. He made, listen, I'll go ahead and print that out for you. I'll run it by.
I can do that. We use the phrase self-fulfill. We self-fulfill up to 1319 here in the studio, and I know how they use their prints. They go in a Walgreens frame, right? And they go on the wall at the HQ over there, and I was going to call it the cop shop. They don't probably know. Well, Mike would know what the cop shop is. Anyway, hey, Phil White, good morning, Phil.
Hey, good morning, Phil.
I would love to have him in on this conversation, because you were the king of this.
You should have him sit here one day.
I should. Yeah. Hey, Phil White, come be my guest one of these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's let's go back. Yeah. So the complexity comes in where your clients doesn't understand your architecture of pricing, and you need to clearly communicate that. Make it so that their eyes don't roll back in their head, because if they do, you've lost them.
Well, and once you have to start over-explaining things, gonzo.
Yeah.
Which means
Here's a good example. I'm sorry.
right in the middle of a gesture.
I know. Let me continue that.
Carry on.
If you send your clients a price list, it has to be self-explanatory.
Totally.
So you should mimic that self-explanatory price list when they're sitting right there next to you. And then I don't think Bob's, I'm pretty sure he's not, and I'm not afraid of my price list, and I'm pretty sure you're not afraid of your price list
I'm
either.
comfortable with it. In fact, we're going to raise our prices again in January.
Yeah.
I raised my prices during the pandemic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, again, complexity kills the sale. Don't do it.
Yep. I want to talk about some of the mistakes I've made.
Yeah, well, do you have another hour?
Dude, I don't have days, right? This would take a lot longer. Phil White says, let me know. I'll be there. Phil White, I'm going to let you know a little after the noon hour today. Let's just go 4 weeks from now. All right? 4 Fridays from now. It's the Friday, I think, after
that might be Thanksgiving.
November 5th. No, it should be the week between. Anyway, Phil, 4 Fridays from now, let's get you on. All right? Because I've got this week and the 2 next weeks covered. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit too. But so one of the mistakes that I made, and we went from being an IPS studio where we're doing in-person sales, and we had, I was pleased with my product list, the things that we offered, metals, canvases, framed prints, and a la carte prints, just paper prints, and packages, of course, and like you said with pull-throughs, right? That's the pretty standard way of building that out. We went from that, like I said a little while ago, from being an in-person sales and selling a product where a lot of the profit margins built into being a photographer, to doing commercial work and working with a digital product. None of my clients are looking for printed product. And I say that, okay, maybe not none, but maybe a very tiny percentage are looking for some kind of vinyl printed product, right, that I don't offer. So we started with tiered pricing, and tiered pricing ate me alive. Okay, so we'd go to a company and say, well, if you put 10 to 19 people, and this is where it starts to get complicated, right? And their eyes are rolling a little bit. Up to 5 people, it's this much, and 5 to 10 people is this much, and where do you do your breaks, right? And then 10 to 20 people, or 10 to 19 people at this much, and 20 to 29 people at this much. So we'd get 19 people at this price, and then they'd be like, if I just stick some other dummy in front of the camera, I kick into the next price bracket. And so we'd wind up doing maybe 2 or 3 extra people to get into that next price bracket, and I realized I was losing money. I would have made more money shooting less people. So it took us a little while to wrap our head around what that looked like, because it seemed like my clients wanted that tiered pricing. If we do more, do we get a better deal? Yeah. Volume pricing.
Yep.
After getting bit pretty hard in the can, right? With that, 4 Fridays is the 19th. That works for me. You're on. After getting bit in the ass with that a little bit, there I said it, because that's what I really meant.
Yep.
We went to a flat rate pricing, and I'm not shy about my pricing. You can go on my website and see my pricing. We have a location fee just to show up, or a studio fee for them to show up here, for us to make this reservation, and then we charge $100 a head. Okay, 5 people, $500 plus my session fee here. There we go. We made $850. It takes what, 90 minutes to get through 5 people? Not quite. That's pretty good income. It's sustainable for me. Those prices are going up at the beginning of the year, but here you go. We're going to do 50 people.
Yeah. Now what do you do?
We're going to do 100 people.
Yeah.
It's the same flat rate.
Yeah.
And that turns into a pretty damn good day.
But
just so you know.
But if they're like, and you just told me a story ahead of time, I'm not going to steal your thunder, but if the client goes, hey, you know, we got these other things we need to have you shoot too. Can you do that
while you're here?
While you're here, then that's your pull through. I mean, that's a.
So you know what I see that as? I see that as the client negotiating.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I was saying earlier. I welcome a subtle negotiation. I don't welcome somebody who's like, whew, your prices are crazy. You're not my client. But when a client says, and I did just pick up a great client, somebody that I think has the potential to bring in a lot of income over the next many years with their properties here in the area doing some architectural photography. And so we're going to be on site doing a major job for them. He's like, hey, at this other property, which is close by, very close by, like 5 minutes from my house, can you photograph these other 6 storefronts for me? Just the storefronts. We're not looking aerial. We're not doing any of that stuff. Just photograph the storefronts for me. As part of that deal, because I just need to get those updated at the same time. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I'm charging well enough going into it. So that subtle negotiation where the client asks for a little give, this is business. And I tell some of my clients, they're like, oh, that's out of our budget. I'm like, this is business, man. Would you, some of you might, would you go to the car dealer and walk in and pay the window sticker price on the car?
Never.
Never.
Yeah.
Why? Because they've got a crap ton of margin built into that car.
Right.
Okay. So I expect my savvy business owners, if we're doing big projects, to build some negotiation into that. But I don't make it complex.
Exactly.
It's very simple.
The key there is the business owner came to him with a extra and said, hey, could you do this? And Bob's going like, you know what? I'll throw that in.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what? I invoiced it and then credited it on the invoice. They're seeing its value.
Exactly. So you got to show them value. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what you do with your pull-throughs too. You say how the a la carte price list works and your packages work is if you bought this separately, it would cost you $3,500. Because you bought the black package, it's now $3,000 or whatever your number is.
Yep.
And you're
the numbers don't matter as long as the relationships, the ratios are right.
Correct. But so we've hit on a lot of stuff. We've not your client. We've hit on the pull throughs and the packages, a ton of stuff. But we've in all of this, it's pretty much not complex because for me, it's the pre-consult. I always tell people, and people ask me, how much does your average wedding customer spend? And I don't lie. Well, there's another element to that. First of all, it takes $3,000 just to get me out to their wedding.
Right.
So you're going to spend $3,000 whether you buy
that's
anything.
The booking.
Yeah.
That's the basis for.
And then I tell them, a lot of my clients spend $3,000 on. I don't say every client. I say a lot of them they buy the black package because of all the stuff and.
Yeah.
So you're looking at $6,000 plus a couple wall hangings. You might end up $7,000. So it's not that way. It's not rocket science. They know where you stand.
Well, so I agree with that. And what you're doing is setting a dollar amount expectation.
Right.
There's another topic that we have to hit. You have to have ridiculous ass packages.
Yeah.
Enabling them to spend more money.
Yeah.
I had a client. This hurts like hard, man. I had a client in my studio. This is when we were doing in-person sales. I didn't have a package rich enough for them. They wanted to spend far more money than I was willing to let them spend. Is that asinine?
It is asinine.
Oh gosh,
But
that's a painful lesson. And I think if you're in sales, you're going to learn that lesson.
I'm telling you, my new venture is all. it literally is. I'm taking your cash because I'm going to make it convenient for you to have wall art.
Awesome.
Seriously,
that's awesome.
And I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm just going to go with it because
So that
I don't know what else to say.
we're hitting a lot of ground here.
I know.
Unapologetic.
Yeah.
If you understand your cost of doing business and you've dialed in the product that you offer and you know it forwards and backwards and that you know your prices are based on reality of what you need to be sustainable going forward, okay? Then you can be unapologetic about your prices. So we do get those clients that are like, well, I was really looking for a $50,
headshot.
a $50 Sears photo or JCPenney photo. I'm like, well, then go to do that.
And that's $50 without paying a sitting fee. So
Yeah.
they just want.
They just want to.
I'm gonna sit down. You take my picture. $50. I'm done.
Yeah, and I don't know. I literally don't know anybody doing that, but I'm
either.
sure they could find that on social media or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's come back to this just a minute. So, the tiers pricing that we did turned out to be really bad for my business, and moving my big clients away from that, so much consternation. I wrote my biggest client. Because we do hundreds of headshots for them a year. I wrote this very complicated, long email about it. I massaged that for an hour, talking through it with my wife, and then I deleted the whole thing and just said, starting such and such, our rates will be effective this. And I got back great, thanks. I'm like, wow, crap. They were hankering the simplicity that I was unwilling to provide them in the first place. Did you hear that? The simplicity
Yep.
is the opposite
Of the complexity. Yeah.
And if it seems complex to you,
It
in
is.
the slightest, it's overwhelmingly complex
For them.
for the
Yeah.
client.
Yeah.
So how are we doing on time? It's 11:36. We're doing pretty good.
We're pretty good.
So to finish this conversation about the tiers pricing, we went flat rate. My customers love it. They appreciate it. It's this much. I also made a change where I have this one client that would pop a guy in. We'd photograph him without his safety hat, his hard hat, and then they'd put his hat on him. And I'm like, that's no extra charge to do that. That was the first time that they're like, oh, hey, can we grab this guy with and without? We did that. I allowed it that one time, and that turned into more and more and more of those. And finally, I finally reached out and said, look, I'm happy to do all these extra pictures, but we're talking like this is a multiplication factor of my time and my efforts. So I'm going to simply charge per headshot now, per delivered headshot, not per person,
Yeah.
right? Per delivered headshot, not per person. So now they come in with the expectation that every pose that they ask me to do for a person, they know there's a fee associated with it. Boy, is that simple or what? Everything that we ask you to do has a simple fee associated with it.
Yeah. It's pretty simple.
And it made my life easier, and it made their life easier. And now they make a conscious decision. You know, we're going to photograph Joe with and without the hard hat. And in fact, we want our CEO, both in the work apparel and in a suit.
Yep.
Great. Each headshot's $100, and they know about that, right? Like,
So just if you guys think about that, just think how much simpler it made Bob's life.
gosh, right?
So Bob knows if he's going to go out and shoot 5 people, there could be a multiplication factor there with the different suits and stuff, but it's going to be $500 plus a sitting fee.
Yep.
The client knows if they got 5 people, it's going to be $500 plus a sitting
Yep.
fee. There's no.
And just like you set that expectation of my average session fee, or my average session pans out to this. So that's just the volume side of what we do.
Right.
We also do this for individuals. They come in, they pay our session fee, and they can buy one headshot or as many headshots as they want. And I found, again, that I was limiting that sale based on how many shots I was willing to take. I was like, there, we're done.
That's a whole.
But changing this price point, so listen, I was 4 years ago, I was charging $175 and delivering about a half a dozen to a dozen headshots, depending on. That sale today averages between $950 and $1,250.
Yeah. And you just hit on it. This is another topic for another day, but when I was doing weddings, it was nothing to shoot 3,500 shots at a wedding. Nothing. And people go, oh my God, what are you shooting 3,500 shots for? Well, you can do a ton of stuff with 3,500 shots because in a wedding, they're all different, right? Everybody's moving. Unless you get the bride like 2 in a row because her eyes were closed or whatever. Yeah. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about 3,500 probably unique situations. And you just hit on it. And that's another topic that, listen, it isn't film like it used to be. It's you pay money for those cards. You might as well.
The pen just came out, Larry.
Yeah, you might as well just burn it up. And you can get money out of that. So it'll be another topic, but my point is.
So
yeah.
Go ahead.
You got
shooting enough, and I wrote that down because we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
I was at a wedding probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
We probably this is completely off the.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
No, it isn't. I was at a wedding. I wasn't shooting the wedding. I was there for a different purpose, and there were 2 wedding photographers, 2 young ladies, and one of them was running like the 1DX2. It has a very distinctive shutter sound. She's like 14 frames per second, and her second clearly was the second shooter, and they were standing next to each other, shooting the dancing, which is kind of the end of the wedding anyway, and their shutters were just blazing, and I'm thinking, dancing shots are typically shit, and if you're really careful, you can get some good dancing shots, but just running the shutter
this didn't do it. No.
Of people shaking their legs is not going to give you quality product. So there is shooting enough, and there is shooting diarrhea.
That's
shutter diarrhea, right? Diarrhea of the shutter.
That's a great.
Anyway,
that's a
so
term.
Let's make that another topic for you. I might regret having said all that, but you get what you get with me here, and it's about time for us to wrap up.
Yeah, it is.
I want to talk about today we landed on complexity in the sales process kills your sales, right? Next week we're going to talk about the overwhelming nature of your process. Okay? This is what it's like for a client to come in either to your studio. Let's punch that up here. I need to bring in this guy. I need to bring in this guy. There it is.
There we go.
And so there's a catalyst. I'll talk about the catalyst next week when we do the live. But there's a point where your client's walking into your situation, into your process. I'm not talking about buying your prints. I'm talking about getting their picture taken. Mm-hmm. All right? That is overwhelming to them just from the idea that they have to step in front of a camera, right?
Yep.
So next week we're going to talk about this big city freeway experience that I had last weekend, traveling with my son and travel trailer into a city that I'd never been to before, anyway, we'll talk about it a little bit next week. But it was an enlightening experience to me, and I thought this is what it must feel like to come in for headshots.
Yeah.
Like coming into something they've never done before with somebody they haven't met before. And anyway, that's our topic next week.
And you have a studio, right? So they're walking into something they've never even seen before. They don't know what a studio is. They don't have all these big umbrellas and bulbs and crap you got hanging from the ceiling.
I've got stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not just, everybody does. If you're a photographer,
part of it.
You got stuff.
And it's intimidating.
Absolutely. You're walking in going.
Big, bright, shiny stuff.
Yeah. Crap.
And then here, sitting in the middle of all of that, and I'm going to take your picture, right?
Yeah.
And then they look down the pipe of that thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, look down there and go. And
you say, hit this?
You say, look right in the lens.
Yeah,
no!
look right here. Look right here. And they're like, You get that terror in their face. I love to photograph that.
Yeah.
And then I tell them they look scared, right? Why don't you cover this?
All right. Listen, guys, if you haven't thought about it before, if you're out there and you're seeing us for, I don't know, the first time, which would be unique, ppofidaho.com, why don't you join us? Listen, we call ourselves Professional Photographers of Idaho, and we are.
And we are.
And
that's the whole point, really.
But you don't have to be a professional to join our organization. If you're an aspiring professional or you want to learn more about the craft and you want to extend your craft to the next level, we're here to help. That is the nature of our organization. It's not necessarily that we're professionals. We're here to help you get what you want out of your camera. So ppofidaho.com, if you just go out there, there's a big join us button.
Yep.
Easy as pie. It's
$10 a month.
$9.99 a month.
Or
with a 12-month commitment.
Yep.
Or $99 a year.
Yeah. So keeping that simple, $10 a month or $100 a year.
Yeah.
Right. To come into this membership organization, we're a nonprofit. We are the state affiliate for Professional Photographers of America.
Mm-hmm.
I almost couldn't get photographers off my tongue.
It was close.
Photographers.
Yeah. It hung
PPA.
right out here.
And this organization's been around for a long dang time.
Yep.
And there's a lot of really first-rate people on board this organization.
There's a ton of talent, and if you can't find a help in our organization, then you're not looking hard enough.
So let's talk about that help for a minute, just for a minute, because we got to wrap it up. But what we're really talking about is finding some people to surround yourself with who can mentor you.
Yeah, and listen, it doesn't. All of us
like Mike and Phil.
Yeah.
Right, and Laquita.
Well, Mike does need mentoring.
Right.
Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, if you saw his Africa episode, you know that's not true.
Actually, I wish I could shoot what he did on his safari. The pictures he took were phenomenal.
No kidding.
Anyway, come and join us because, again, we call ourselves Professional Photographers of Idaho, but we're here to better the craft and we're here to better the industry. That's
we're here to elevate the industry.
That's one of
my favorite phrases.
Yeah.
Right.
Elevate's a good word.
Elevate the industry. All right, listen, folks, we're going to wrap it right here. There's so much more we could say because Larry and I like to talk a lot.
Right.
We actually have a lot of fun doing this, if you can tell. But we're going to cut it right here. We're back next week with Big City Freeway, a discussion about the process that your customers interface with when they come into your studio or into your sessions.
And it ties in with the complexity. So kind of remember this week, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Cheers.